Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another review. This is another paid request, this time for Ben. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, commentaries, randomness, out of the blueness, rankings lists, pretty much anything really, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. But this is for the 1996 film Original Gangstas. Now, this is interesting for a number of reasons. Number one, it's the last film Larry Cohen directed. Now, Larry Cohen, for those who don't know, sadly he has passed away, but he was a very interesting director. Now, granted, he did not write the film, although there's word that maybe he helped touch up dialogue in certain places. But he's a guy that directed films like It's Alive and its sequels, To the Winged Serpent, The Ambulance, the one with Eric Roberts from 1990. Nothing to do with the Michael Bay ambulance that's coming out. What else was there? There was God Told Me To, The Stuff. Really, my top three would be The Ambulance, The Stuff, and To the Winged Serpent. Very interesting, creative, bizarre, but original movies that has a certain quirkiness to his dialogue and the way he directs his actors. And it was a director that when he made something made me take notice. And even when he was just writing, like he helped write Maniac Cop and Maniac Cop 2, which William Lustig directed. And then this is the last film he directed, but he would help write films like Cellular with Chris Evans, underrated film with Chris Evans, Jason Statham, Kim Basinger. He helped write or come with the idea of Phone Booth, which would be directed by Joel Schumacher and starring Jim Carrey. And then he left, and then they got Colin Farrell. Because yes, Jim Carrey was going to be in Phone Booth, but then they got, I don't know why he decided not to do it. He was going to do it, but then they got Colin Farrell, and I would say it's Colin Farrell's best performance. I really like Phone Booth. But yeah, Larry Cohen helped that story. He was the initial inspiration. I don't know how much of his script they used, but his story was inspiration. So he's very talented. And sadly he's no longer with us. But again, this is the last film he directed. And he got the job because he had worked with Fred Williamson back in the day on like Black Caesar and I think Hell Up in Harlem. Was it Black Caesar? I think Hell Up in... I can't remember the name of the movies, damn it. But he had worked with a couple movies with Fred Williamson. And Fred Williamson's like, hey man, I really want to get this film made. You want to direct it? Okay, if you get the money. And then Larry Cohen, I read an interview saying, well, I thought he wouldn't get the money, but he did. So they shot it, and it takes place in Gary, Indiana. Apparently a lot of the extras were actual gang members, and a sad fact was that when they were making the film, the gang members were on their best behavior, they worked well together, but then when the movie company left, because the movie was done, the gangs just went back to killing each other. It was just too bad. But what I did like this film, it's the first time I've seen it, and I liked it because it was a nice last hurrah for these actors from the 70s. Especially the Blaxploitation era. Because the film stars Fred Williamson, Jim Brown, Pam Grier. You also have sadly small roles of Richard Roundtree, Shaft himself, Ron O'Neal, Superfly himself, and then other actors. You got Wayne Hauser in there. You got Robert Forster, which him and Pam Grier would be in Jackie Brown a year after this. Charles Napier, who was Murdoch in Rambo First Blood Part 2. So you had a lot of recognizable actors in this. Now granted, they were up there in age. I mean, nowadays, a lot of these are like in their 80s. So even here, they'd be 60s. So I mean, these guys and gals were in their 60s, so they couldn't move as fast and as brisk as their heyday in the 70s. But it was nice to see all of these Blaxploitation actors in one location. They just needed Isaac Hayes. They need Isaac Hayes. And sadly, Jim Kelly had passed away, otherwise I'm sure he would have been in this. But they needed Isaac Hayes in there. That's the guy they were missing. Because one of my favorite Blaxploitation films is Truck Turner, which I still want to pick that up sometime. I don't know if it has a Blu-ray, but maybe the DVD. But as I said, it takes place in Gary, Indiana. Kid's playing basketball. He wins, but then the guy he wins against is with this gang. And Gary, Indiana has like 2-3 gangs fighting over territory. Well, actually now they're in a truce, but they deal with their territory in different ways. And one of them, they're mad at this kid for winning this basketball game and hustling for $300, so they do a drive-by and fuck him up in this phone booth. And that was a bit where it was nicely shot. Like, you get the inside of the phone booth, and you see squibs, and... Just the thing is, one of the drawbacks of the film, sadly, Larry Cohen was never a guy that directed shootouts. What I mean by that is, I would want to say action, but like the ambulance has some really good stunt work, and that was mainly because of, I think, was his name Vic Rosados? There was a guy who worked on like Maniac Cop 2, and I think the ambulance as well. As a guy who helped do the action set pieces. Same guy in his group that would go on to work on Fast and Furious movies and Captain America films, and like they knew their stuff. I wish Larry Cohen had, maybe by this time they had gone to greener pastures that make a lot more money, but I wish he had someone like that to, or even hell, take some guys from PM Entertainment, because the action scenes can leave a bit to be desired. I didn't like that drive-by in the phone booth is nice, but I'm talking about like in the finale. The finale, when there's shooting going around, it's not that energetically directed. I would say that's one of the letdowns of the film, but I still enjoyed the movie because it was great to see all these, like I said, put together into one film. I didn't like always like an Expendables film for these 70s Blaxploitation actors. That's what it is. Kind of like that version of the Expendables, in a way. Now, the kid who got killed was the son of Pam Grier, and was also the son of Jim Brown. And you don't fuck with Jim Brown, who comes back into town. And then also, this grocery store manager noticed what happened and tries to help and contest the police, the cop played by Robert Forster, but then he gets shot, not dead, but shot, and his son is played by Fred Williamson, and he comes back into town. And Fred Williamson and Jim Brown, they used to be part of this gang back in the day, but they didn't hurt, and, they didn't kill people. They just survived to try to get out of town, but they see these gangs have changed from how they were back in the day, and now the original gangsters are back to clean up this town. And when you did see Jim Brown and Fred Williamson kicking ass, again, they're not as quick as they used to, but it's still fun to see. Just fun to see these guys working well together, kicking ass. I actually thought Jim Brown did fine the acting front. I liked him and Fred. I liked their back and forth with each other. And I like them kicking ass. Like Fred Williamson kicked these stupid asses in the store. He even shoots a guy in the foot and threatens his nuts. Yeah, get back, get back. No, get back. You should start something you can't finish. Never been my style, brother. And then Jim Brown helps at a barbershop and lays some haymakers. And Jim Brown can be intense. Like, he stares eye to eye with the guy that might have killed his son, and he's looking at him going, "You're dead, man. What? You're a dead man. Like, very intense. Like, you fucking believe it. You buy it. They had some good lines with each other, as well against the gang members. At one point, a gang member talks smack, and Fred Williamson says something to the effect of, "You don't even know what sex your mother is." And it was also... I'm not sure if it worked for younger folks that don't know a lot of these actors, but for me, it's like, oh, the mayor's Charles Napier. Murdoch from Rambo 2. Oh, his subordinate is Wayne Hauser, who I've seen in a lot of films, including this 80s film called Mutant, back in the day, among others, and he was in Watchers 3, among other films. Ron O'Neal and Richard Roundtree. I wish those two were in the film more, because both of them, they're in one scene, and then they're at the finale. So I wish those two were in the film a lot more. Like, Ron O'Neal talks with Fred Williamson, he disappears, he doesn't show up till the end. Richard Roundtree, he talks with Jim Brown in a pool hall, he disappears. I'm like, this is Richard Roundtree, this is Shaft. Did it? It's Shaft. And again, that's my second issue with the film. One, especially the finale when they do the shootouts, the way the camera is placed, it comes off like TV, like a TV episode. Which I didn't say that because I saw more dynamic direction on an episode of the A-Team. But just very basic. There's not a lot of graphic blood squibs. There's not a lot of style, point of view shots, or slow motion, or just... Like I said, Larry Cohen, when you look at his history, his filmography, he's not an action director. And the few bits that were, it was because of, again, certain people that would go on to do Captain America Fast and Furious movies, and maybe he didn't have those guys, so... And like I said, Richard Roundtree, Ron O'Neal, I mean, you got Shaft and Superfly in the same movie together. Have them also be a team, and have Jim Brown and Fred Williamson be a team. And, like, maybe go back and forth between those two teams. That would have been nice to see. But Pam Grier has some nice moments with Jim Brown, like why they separated from back in the day, and Pam Grier didn't want Jim Brown to lose his dream. The gangs to fight each other. Pam Grier's teaching women in the town how to stand up for themselves. You know, in the finale, like I said, it's not a strong suit, but you do get some good moments where, like, Jim Brown has a final fight, and then Fred Williamson has a final fight, Pam Grier has a final fight, and in a weird way, for those are your three main stars, and it was, again, I say last hurrah, Pam Grier was in Jackie Brown, but that's not really much action. That's more story. But like action style, I mean, they would do certain films after this, but in a weird way, this does fit in that Blaxploitation era of filmmaking from back in the day, and sort of a nice addendum. It was a little asterisk at the end of that Blaxploitation era with these guys and gal, Pam Grier. And the movie moved at a fast pace, and it was just fun to see all of them in the same movie. And like I said, I liked some of the dialogue that Fred and Jim Brown had. I liked when they were the kick, Fred Williamson pulling off some of his kung fu moves, Jim Brown with his powerful haymakers. The people that played the gang members, they were fine. I didn't have any issue with them. One guy, I think he was in a Steven Seagal film. I think he was in Under Siege 2. One of the gang members. I think he was one of the bad guys in Under Siege 2. I could be wrong, but he seemed familiar. Charles Napier's not in the film much. He has a couple scenes, like he says, the mayor. Paul Winfield from The Terminator. He's there as a reverend. Again, Robert Forster doesn't have much to do. Again, he appears a couple times as a cop, and then the second half of the film he pretty much disappears. But this is more of, again, Jim and Fred and Pam's movie. And it was nice to see those three work together after so many years. It is just too bad Jim Kelly was not still with us at that time. When did Jim Kelly pass away, now that I think about it? I'm trying to think, when did Jim Kelly pass away? Let me see real quick. Because this came out in 1996. And the film didn't do anything. But I think it came out around the same time as... Okay, I don't mean the football star. Show me the football star. I'm not talking about the football star. I'm talking about the martial artist. 2013. So wait, he was around. Wait a minute. He died 2013? I thought he passed away earlier. So now... That doesn't make... Why didn't they get Jim Kelly? So now, that's another thing that they're missing. Why would you not get Jim Kelly in this? Let me see. Sorry, I didn't even realize... That's too bad then. I wonder why they didn't get Jim Kelly. Sorry, now I'm just checking a little bit of info, see if I can find any. But yeah, that's a bummer. I don't know, for some reason I thought Jim Kelly passed away way too soon, but that wasn't the case here. So yeah, they should. I don't know why they didn't get Isaac Hayes and Jim Kelly into this. I think that would have been really cool to see those two in this. Okay, it says here, Fred Williamson had been trying to get Jim Kelly in the film, but he could not locate him, so he had to do the film without him. Well, he did disappear for a while. I mean, now that I think about it, Jim Kelly kind of wasn't in the public eye for quite a bit. So that might have been the case. It's kind of like Doug Bradley nowadays. Like the guy who started American Ninja 3 and Cyborg Cop. Like, no one knows where the hell David Bradley is. So the way David Bradley is nowadays might have been how Jim Kelly was back in the day. Because now that I think about it, like, again, I didn't even know when he passed away. I thought he passed away earlier, but in 1996... Like, he was in something called Stranglehold as executive number 4, and then didn't appear until Matt Hammered, Slaughtered, and Shafted. I don't know what that is. I'm guessing that's a documentary on Blaxploitation, which I've never seen, as himself. And then 2009 in Afro Ninja. So yeah, I'm guessing that's the case. But yeah, my guess is kind of like David Bradley is nowadays. He disappeared and no one could find where he was at. It's like, well, we don't know his information. So yeah, I'm glad I looked that up. So yeah, apparently Fred Williamson looked for him and couldn't find him. That does happen. And you gotta remember, this is the days before the internet really, took off like it is nowadays. So it's like, oh, just send him a Facebook. There was no Facebook at this time. You had to do it on the phone. Plus, I don't see Fred Williams... Yeah, different world back then as well as nowadays. Sorry about that tangent, but just wanted to confirm on stuff. But overall, I would say, if you like Jim Brown and Fred Williamson and Pam Grier, you like all of these Blaxploitation actors of the past. They get to see them in the same movie, interact with each other as they're battling these gangs. Again, the action, Sally, while there's a couple fun fisticuffs with Fred and Jim, and even Pam gets a nice bit of business. A little bit of her coffee, Foxy Brown days, and a fight at the end. Kind of like a nice last how do you do before exiting stage left, so to speak, last hurrah. I just wish the action scenes had a bit more dynamic. Like, there's a bit where all of them, Fred, Jim, Pam, Richard Roundtree, and Ron O'Neal, all five of them are next to each other, and they're walking up, firing. But that should have been like a big epic scene where they're firing, and there's bad guys here blowing, bad guys here, squibs falling down, and then up close of Pam Grier doing this, up close of Richard Roundtree doing that. Kind of like Expendables 2 at the end, where you have Bruce, Stallone, and Arnold. The three of them. To be fair, action-wise, that was done better in that front. The Expendables 2 I didn't mad about because I expect more out of that film, and some of the stuff they did in that just annoyed the piss out of me more than this. But really, in that scene in this movie, like they go kind of the big trailer moment, they pretty much blow up a car, and that's it. You know, they blow up one car. There should have been a lot more to a scene like that. And then again, Richard Roundtree, Ron O'Neal kind of get left behind while the other three have each of their own fights. But like I said, I did like the film. I would probably give it like 3.5 out of 5 stars. 3.5 because the actors still have their charm. You could tell they enjoyed working on it, this last hurrah. I keep mentioning that because that was nice to see these guys and gal get one more moment to shine before hanging it up. Because, like I said, you didn't see a lot of them. Like Jim Brown around this time was in Mars Attacks. Fred Williamson around this time was in From Dusk Till Dawn, and then he was in, I believe, VFW. I don't like what they did with his character in it, but it was nice to see him in that. VFW was a decent film. Richard Roundtree you would see once in a while, like he was in a cameo in the Shaft, both the Sam Jackson and then that one that came out a few years ago, the other Shaft, which also had Sam Jackson. But Richard Roundtree had appearances in both of them. But it was fun to watch in that instance. And overall, I was entertained. It was an entertaining movie. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.